This episode is brought to you by 5280 Magazine. The annual 5280 brunch event is back on March 29th at Asterisk in Rhino. Enjoy a memorable Saturday afternoon jam-packed with the best of Denver brunch. Think sweet and savory menus from editor-picked brunch restaurants, a build-your-own Bloody Mary station, tasty beverages including zero-proof options, a dynamic DJ set from Mr. Groove, and so much more. A special discount is available when you purchase 4 or more tickets. Simply choose general admission at checkout and use the discount code BRUNCHCREW. Get your tickets now at 5280.com. That's 5280.com.
Today on CityCast Denver, the quagmire that is BRT construction on Colfax is only a few months old, and the businesses are struggling. But as of this week, the city has money on the table to help. Will it be enough? We're looking at that question with a reporter who's been up and down the avenue trying to figure it out. Plus, one of Denver's biggest bands has a new album out. And our wins and fails of the week. And watch out, this episode has some explicit language, especially when we start talking about the Lumineers. Today is Friday, February 21st. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city that is reportedly witnessing a rare economic phenomenon called the lipstick effect, which is when wealthy residents are splurging. They're shelling out like $400 for caviar, luxury goods, while skipping even pricier meals out. Meanwhile, many Denverites are feeling what I'm calling the chapstick effect, which is when you can't even afford chapstick.
I love this because at Pon Pon bar that I'm sure we have all been to, if not love.
Never heard of it.
Really?
It's a great little tucked away gem over on the very edge of Rhino. And they had a kissing booth for Valentine's Day, and it was $1 for a kiss, $2 for a kiss with lipstick.
So that's a splurge I can afford. $1 extra for the lipstick kiss?
I don't understand the lipstick effect. Like, I don't understand what that is meaning.
Let me spell it out. This is a great article in the Denver Post. Friend of the show, Allison Reedy, wrote about this. But apparently there's like these upscale like grocers like Marzik's.
Sure.
They're selling, they have goods like caviar, cost $400, and they're selling out because people with money, they're maybe spending more on like the best version of something smaller and not going out for an even more expensive meal. It's like a splurge, something that happens in tough economic times.
Like how
$400 caviar in tough economic times.
I know. For some people, that's like, a splurge. I don't know.
So what's the lipstick connection?
That's what they call that effect, the lipstick effect.
Yeah.
So like you might pay for
like
lipstick
when you buy $400.
I don't know. That's a good
question.
I don't know actually why they call it the lipstick effect.
I want to meet these people too, also.
That are buying the caviar.
Yeah, I'm just gonna park it outside Marzik's. Be like, who are you?
Call in if you if you're buying that caviar from Marzik's for $400. And is it worth it? Anyway, it's Friday. We're here rounding up the news of the week. We're here at the beautiful 5280 Magazine studios in lovely downtown Denver. Gorgeous day.
Freezing.
I walked here. It was cold.
It was cold. My brother's a mailman, and he said the other night it was like negative something degrees, and he was out delivering mail at 9:30 at night.
Woof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked to Illegal Pete's downtown last night. I was great story. Thanks,
Good
Paul.
Good story, Paul.
Bree is here. Hey, Bree.
I'm here. Hi.
Are you splurging on little luxuries?
No. I don't know who these people are. My grocery bill is insane, just like for regular stuff.
Well, that's where I'm doing it. Like, I bought myself a bag of pistachios, which I don't normally buy when I go to the grocery store, but I was like, this is my treat this week.
Nuts are kind of high end at this point. Yeah.
$10 for a bag of pistachios.
Expensive.
I love them.
My husband would say I splurge because I buy a lot of stuff at the grocery store, but you got to buy, I buy organic whole milk for my kid.
Yeah, I splurge on my rent,
I splurge on my basic living expenses.
Just a little something for me, rent. You've heard his voice. We have a great guest today. He's the newest staff writer at Westward, but a real old Denver head. Probably a lot of listeners know him, have read his stuff for years, like I have. A mainstay of the music scene. Welcome to the show, Jason Heller.
Hi, welcome, Paul, Bree. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Jason, how's Patty treating you at Westward?
Oh, she's treating me great. She is welcome. Well, she's welcomed me pretty heartily back into the fold. I was a freelancer at Westward for many years, starting back over 20 years ago. So I'm back as a staff writer for the first time. So I have both the benefits and the drawbacks of being a new employee, yet also an old one.
Interesting. Well, we've been loving your stuff. It's nice to have you on to talk about it. You've been covering this Colfax situation we're going to get into in a few minutes, and it's been great reporting. Can't wait to talk about it. But first, we have a little bit of business to talk about.
Yep.
Heyday.
Our big event, March 8th.
Big event. You've heard us talking about it, but finally we get to reveal
something so cool we've been working on for a couple weeks.
I've been thinking about this as the main event of Heyday.
I think so too, because we've got, okay, do you want to just say what it is, Paul?
I've been calling it the most Denverist Denverite costume contest.
Yes.
So this is a costume contest that anyone can enter.
And it is highly up to interpretation.
It's really, it's up to you. I mean, that's what the fun part. Whatever you think is the most Denverist contest or costume that you can put together, you might win. And it's a killer prize pack that you could win. We're talking about a Topo Designs backpack. They're really one of the sponsors of the event. Topo Design, I mean, that's one of my favorite local brands. A couple of gift cards to local restaurants, Culinary Dropout, Blanco, this is so good. But this might be a good thing to wear to enter the contest. But if you win, you would get one of Mayor Mike's iconic corduroy Wrangler jackets. We have bought the jacket, and we are going to give it out.
We have talked to him about the jacket, and that made news in itself.
It's his jacket. It's a very Denver-y jacket. I saw someone wearing the one this morning, actually. A little bit darker yellow khaki color than Mayor Mike's.
But this one is...
Yeah, we got the right one.
And it's part of our prize package if you win the Denverist Denverite contest. So however you interpret that, whatever you think is the most Denver, it could be a person, it could be a place, it could be a feeling.
Bree, what's your costume? What would your costume be?
Mine would be
Great question, Jason.
Guy harassing me outside 7-Eleven on Colfax, like bathrobe, blonde, curly wig, cigar.
I know it would be great. You could actually build like a doll of yourself and carry it around and yell at it.
Getting harassed by a guy on Colfax. That was mine was a Colfax character would be my
Colfax character.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to enter,
you thought you were off the hook?
I thought it was
your
off the
costume?
Hook. I don't know. Maybe I would wear like Wellington Webb's white sneakers.
That'd be
It's
good.
kind of a deep cut.
You'd have to bring a sign with you because remember, he's like the sign guy.
Oh, yeah, the yard signs. I would dress up as Wellington Webb, I think.
I'm going to dress up as Wesley Schultz, the lead singer and creative mastermind of Denver superstars, the Lumineers.
With a 10-foot long brimmed hat.
Jason's alluding to our second topic today. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I cannot wait to talk to you two about it. It's going
to be fun.
It is a great topic.
We need to tell you that if you want to enter this contest, we need you to do that beforehand. Right.
Yes, you have to do it. You have to enter now. The first 20 people who sign up are going to get 2 free tickets so you and a friend can cheer you on in the contest, and then also celebrity judges.
Oh yeah.
So it's not just us who are going to be picking a winner. We have some really awesome people from the show. Justine Sandoval, our politics and green chili correspondent. Patty Calhoun, who we've been talking about, the editor of Westward, a legend. Kyle Clark. From 9 News, you know him from your TV set.
He's kind of the most famous person in Denver, for sure.
I mean, imagine.
And we landed him as a judge for this contest.
You're up there in your Blucifer costume,
and you get to hear Kyle's take on your costume.
I can't wait.
I know. I'm so stoked.
And then we have one more special surprise guest judge who we were not going to talk about. We're not going to reveal this person, but you might be interested in who this person is.
So
and you've got to come to the event. And if you haven't bought your tickets yet, get them for 3 p.m. It's time ticketing. So we're doing this contest in the afternoon. If you want to see it, get the 3 p.m. slot. Link to enter the costume contest in the show notes.
HeydayDenver.com for more information.
Thank you. Great.
Cool.
Boy.
Let's move.
It's 2 weeks out. I'm finally getting the handle of this Heyday copy. It's an indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist. We're going to have a good time. Okay, let's get to our top story. This week, is Colfax going to be okay? As construction on BRT, aka Bus Rapid Transit, continues, businesses are struggling. But as of this week, the city is offering $2 million in new grants to help them out. Jason, this is the story you've been on all week. You got a bunch of stories on this. $2 million, is that going to be enough?
No. To paraphrase Michael John, who is the new and current owner of the Satellite Bar there on Colfax between Grant and Logan, which is a staple of the entire East Colfax neighborhood and Capitol Hill neighborhood. When I interviewed him this week and asked him about the total amount that is being offered in grant money for small businesses on Colfax being impacted by BRT, he said, yeah, that's pretty paltry. The total is one thing. What is actually being offered per business that applies for a grant is if you have an annual gross of under $100,000 for your business, you're eligible for a $7,500 grant. If you make over $100,000 annually gross, your business is eligible for a $15,000 grant. And I've been talking to business owners up and down Colfax, most recently with Sudi Kudvar, who owns many bars around Denver.
Many bars people love, I would say, too. 715 Club, Marigold.
Matchbox.
Yeah.
But he also owns the Squire right there on Colfax. And these numbers were just announced 2 days ago, along with the opening of the application portal for these grants. And these amounts, all these businesses were kept guessing up until that moment as to what is the total amount of grant they're going to be eligible for.
Yeah.
And they were hoping for something that might actually do more than put a Band-Aid over a gushing axe wound.
Well, and I do want to say, though, you did talk to folks who were like, as much as they were critical, they were thankful that it was happening. But I can see in the scheme of things, that might not be enough to cover like a month's rent or whatever the long term.
Yeah, I was doing the math here for based on the revenue is how you get these grants. I was doing the math based on like $100,000 over the next couple of years because that's how long construction is going to take, and then like 15 grand it was like 0.075%. Of like, I don't know, don't check my math because it's probably wrong. But like for a business that's struggling, they don't know where the bottom is my understanding. I was talking to Frank Locantore of the Colfax Bid yesterday about this. It's been going 3 months, this construction. They just don't know when the decline is going to end, how much people are going to come back to Colfax to support these businesses during construction. I've been out there a little bit. I drove up and down Colfax the other day. It's gnarly. Mm-hmm. Bree, you spent some time on the street. How do you feel? Yeah,
I was at Tommy's Thai the other night having dinner with my dear friend Aaron Stereo, and I decided to drive back down Colfax to go home just to see what it looked like. And that night there was a show at the Ogden and there was a show at the Fillmore, which if you've ever been on that part of Colfax in general during those times, it's a ton of folks driving around looking for parking as well as throngs of folks walking across the street, right? And it was chaos. It took me like 45 minutes to get from Ogden and Colfax to I think like Broadway. I mean, I was just sitting in front of the Ogden for 15 minutes in my car because it was hard. But I want to contextualize here though is something that I thought about other infrastructure projects that have impacted people, right? I-70 expansion, T-Rex. Folks lost their whole homes in these eminent domain fights. And I just wonder if we're being extra hard on this project in a way that we aren't as hard on these other infrastructure projects that prioritize cars. I just wanted to think about that as well.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it, I completely appreciate that. But I also do think it's an apples and oranges situation.
Fair.
In the sense that there is an entire row of dominoes here that is happening. And one thing that is really one of the biggest issues of this is not just the amount of money, not just the impact. It is the really haphazard and often conflicting information that is being given to businesses, to the press, to the public, to taxpayers.
About the project itself?
About the project.
Okay.
And particularly
Where are the
about
conflicts?
the rollout.
Where are the conflicts in the information? Because I have to be honest, I have not seen this. To me, it's been, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm close to it and I'm interested in it, but it's been a lot for years. Like, we've known this is coming. Frank has been knocking on these businesses' doors. I think he told me yesterday they have gone to every single business multiple times in the last few months to inform people and to give people materials, to let them know these grants were coming. So where are the conflicts that you're seeing in the messaging? I'll
give you a really good example. So obviously BRT is being done in segments as it goes eastward. Down Colfax, from the corner of Grant and Colfax all the way out to Aurora. The segment 1, which is what is being done in earnest right now, goes from Colfax and Grant to Colfax and Williams. The Squire Lounge, which we mentioned, sits on Broadway and Colfax and Williams, but it is on the east side of the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, segment 1 ends at Williams. Technically, the Squire is in segment 2, but they've been impacted as much as any business in segment 1 because now they're rolling in all the equipment and all the barriers and everything else to begin segment 2.
So mentally, they may have been preparing for this one time frame to be impacted, but it's been longer because of the preparation at this intersection.
Well, when it comes to the specific messaging, when I talked to Sudhi Kudvar, who we mentioned, who is the owner of the Squire, one of the owners of the Squire, he doesn't know if he's in segment 1 or segment 2. He says no one in all these many months has been able to tell him, am I in segment 1 or segment 2? Now, that's not just an academic point. He can't apply for a grant right now unless he's in segment 1. We have no idea when grants for segment 2 are going to open. Grants are now open for applications until March 18th. Sudhi, it's just a crapshoot for him. He's just like, well, I'll just apply for a grant and hope. He says, as of yesterday, he says, no one can tell me which segment I'm actually in. The whole opening of the application window for these grant applications, conflicting messages and accounts, sometimes from different entities on the same day. I would interview them and get different information. We're talking from Denver Economic Development and Opportunity, Frank Locantori, who you mentioned, who I love, the director of Colfax Bid.
I feel like he's really in the middle, and he's trying his hardest.
I agree with you entirely.
To share that information, but he doesn't necessarily maybe know everything.
The positive thing I will say is every single business I have been talking to, no matter how frustrated, no matter their point of view or where they are in this really complicated, chaotic process, all of them say everyone from the city, from Colfax Bid, everyone has been extremely helpful, sensitive, sometimes apologetic. But at a certain point, I have to start asking myself, maybe everyone should, if everyone involved is so nice and supportive and helpful, then someone's not being nice and supportive and helpful. There's something here that's institutionally, perhaps, structurally, that is just not adding up for people.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the money. Taxpayer money. That's what it is. The city's got a lot of different priorities, a lot of things we want to spend money on. Like, I know Councilwoman Amanda Sawyer, she was pushing for more than $2 million in the budget this year to support these businesses on Colfax, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different priorities. There's a lot of problems.
Well,
Colfax is one thing.
And we've had budget issues already. So, I can see where it's tough to figure out what to prioritize when we're still handling
this money was all earmarked before a lot of these budget shortages started coming up. This is money.
Because it has been in the works for a long time.
Yeah, this is a money that was, and obviously money is always going to be tight, but the entire economic and cultural corridor of East Colfax, it completely synergistic. If things start to fall, it's a domino effect because people will just stop coming to Colfax altogether. And it is even really affecting foot traffic for people who live in the neighborhood. And one of the things that I keep coming across too is there seems to be this assumption that most of the businesses on Colfax it's foot traffic, it's people in the neighborhood. But there are still tons of people. There are small venues.
I was going to say, venues are a great example of folks coming from outside the neighborhood all the time to come down to shows.
To clog up Colfax while you're trying to get past
I wasn't
the gauntlet of
complaining
the
as much as I was
Ogden
just like,
and the Fillmore.
I was just like, oh, this is the reality of what this looks
Yeah.
like. And like the other thing was I'm trying to like be mindful of pedestrians. Some people are just zipping around, like they get frustrated and they drive through the cones. Well, there's 5, it's like it. Yeah, I was just trying to showcase like this is going to just continue to be really tough
it's
for a
hard.
while.
Yeah, like I said, I was driving up and down Colfax, and I use Google Maps to make sure I get places on time. Google Maps, for the first time, routed me off of Colfax. It routed me onto the side streets, the exact thing all the NIMBYs were afraid of for years leading up to this, and Google is telling me to do it.
Well, I went to Tommy's Tie, and the whole front of it is blocked off. You may not think it's open because you can't see it.
I mean, Lula Rose Coffee Shop I saw on the subreddit was raising money. They're apparently struggling. It's like all of them, all of them. And they don't know where the bottom is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other side of this, though, because like, Bree, you said this. This is a transit infrastructure project. Mm-hmm. This is meant to improve transit on the street. We have to talk about the positive, the light at the end of the tunnel here. So, Jason, you wrote another great story this week where you rode the 15 bus, the soon-to-be discontinued 15 bus in place to be replaced by this BRT line, with 2 RTD directors, new ones, Chris Nicholson, friend of the show, past guest, and Kathleen Chandler, who represents part of Aurora. I want to talk about a quote from Kathleen Chandler, because Bree and I both pulled this one out. We're like, what the heck is she talking about? I want to know what you think she was saying. Kathleen told you, I'm not always a fan of BRT because of the disruption, because of the squeezing of lanes, because what it's forcing people to do. As a Colorado native, it doesn't feel very welcoming to me. It doesn't, in my mind, connote the Western spirit.
I think that, and Kathleen is fantastic. I mean, she was great to get to know, smart as a whip, and completely committed and compassionate about what she does. It's also good to keep in mind that although she ran as unaffiliated for this office as RTD director of District F, she is a conservative, which is mentioned in the article, which she's happy to admit to. And she also, has done a lot of things and said a lot of things that definitely have even more of a libertarian leaning, right? And I think that wouldn't be, she's worked with the Independence Institute and things like that too.
Yeah, but what the heck is she talking about? It doesn't in my mind connote the Western spirit.
Well, the Western spirit, to me, what I really gathered from that was the Western spirit of not having to have everything engineered publicly and socially the way it seems.
Like public transit?
Not public transit. She wouldn't have run for this office. Like she very much believes in it from what she has told me. But yeah, the way I definitely, and if she would like to disagree, she is more than happy to contact me and we'll have another conversation. But I really took that to mean that there is, in BRT, in this entire project, a big concentration, a big focus on the city itself. There's a big focus on not necessarily the less dense parts of RTD's districts, especially hers in Aurora.
The age-old RTD problem.
It is the age-old RTD problem where, obviously more money is going to go toward the denser districts, which of course are going to be the more urban districts. So I think, to her, just the way I interpreted that was there is something that does have a bit of a tunnel vision when it comes to this project, and it doesn't necessarily have the kind of, Wild West do-it-yourself.
That's what I think it's about.
Okay, tell me what you think it's about, because I took this a different way.
This kind of which conservatives in Colorado have made some variation on this, and often in a vague way, for decades. You know what I mean? The gritty Western spirit, or the do-it-yourself, or keep your tax money and quit having to give it to city slick. Now I'm not paraphrasing or interpreting Kathleen at all at this point, or even trying.
Yeah, which is why it's so interesting. Like, for someone to run for RTD and to work for RTD, but also to be talking about this like self-reliance stuff.
Yeah, how did you take this quote?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay.
It strikes me as like she seems to be of the perspective that government should not be getting in the way of individuals' ability to do business.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is,
or to get where they need to go.
Which is pretty much the bottom line of a libertarian, you know what I mean, stance.
I took this as a very car-centric view, I guess.
Yeah.
Is how I took it. She front loads it with, I'm not always a fan of BRT because of the disruption. Okay, the disruption of construction, because that also is a problem when we're expanding highways. Because of the squeezing of the lanes. Okay, less room for cars. That's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what it's forcing people to do. I don't quite understand what she's saying here.
Very interesting language.
And then front loading that with the Western spirit thing to me is like, we love cars. Come on, we love cars.
Yeah.
You know, we love cars. We love the freedom. We love the ability to get where we want to go when we want to go there ourselves, alone in our cars. Also, safety is a big issue for her, which I'm not going to negate as a real problem. We know someone on our staff stopped riding light rail because it got too shady. I get where she's coming from, but overall, to me, her perspective is weird for being on this board representing people that take public transit while actively, to me, in this comment, not really liking it, or thinking that we should have it. It was very confusing to me.
Yeah, it was confusing. We should probably move on. I want to talk about one other thing, though, because there was another piece about BRT this week in the Denver Post from our friend Elliot Wensler.
Great story.
Really good story. What Elliot did was she took a look at some of the other cities that have built these BRT lines and saw what's worked and what didn't work. Bree, what did you think about that? What grabbed you about that?
I liked it because she helped give us context to other places that have done this. And again, I worked in planning for 4 years. This was a huge topic of conversation. The planning firm I worked for worked on some of these economic projects around these lines. And she showed us like Seattle had some pretty dismal numbers. Like they lost more businesses during the construction of their BRT than they did during the pandemic. But then on the other side of it, I believe it was like Cleveland, maybe? Was it?
Yes, Cleveland.
Cleveland
was the success story. So it was helpful. I thought it was really nice of Elliot to give us some pictures of other urban areas that had this similar experience, because we are talking about a huge shift in how we think about transit for our cities. And I just thought it was nice to see that it is complicated. Some cities have done it great. Other cities have not had as much luck. And we don't know where we're going to land, but here's some pictures of what it could look like. Yeah, the detail about Cleveland that grabbed me was like they attribute the success of their line, which has led to this boom in businesses along the route, to the fact that there are two big job centers, one at either end.
There's people that it automatically was ready to serve.
Yeah, and in Denver, I think there's like maybe, we've got those hospital complexes over near Aurora, and we definitely have downtown at the other end, but like I think that's an open question. They're building a lot of apartments. Those people are probably going to ride BRT. Jason, what did you think about that?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting too. I've heard really intriguing things about Albuquerque's similar project here, which basically their version of East Colfax pretty much just wiped it out. You know what I mean? And I do feel that there is kind of an encroaching fatalism about this, and that it is basically this weird attitude of just like, you gotta break a bunch of eggs to make the omelet. And I don't see it as an either or. I don't see it as a zero-sum game. I think you can have this awesome, amazing, advanced, new public transit artery that is, by the way, going to branch out, just like how light rail, we started with our one line and branched out, after
maybe less branches, like completely separate lines that will not intersect whatsoever.
True.
Federal, maybe Spear, maybe Colorado Boulevard will.
But they're serving such crucial.
They will. I mean, I don't know. The BRT project that we're doing is so interesting. I'm going to Mexico City soon. They got some BRT lines.
They're famous.
They're amazing. And they also have gondolas.
Oh, yeah.
3 gone. I'm going to write
Make
those
sure to
this
come
time.
back and remind us that
I will.
we're missing out.
Write a proposal for some gondolas in Denver. Maybe that's what we need.
Can't wait. Folks, we want to hear from you. We got to move on. The Colfax hotline is open, 720-500-5418. Call us. Let us know what you've seen. What have you seen on Colfax? What do you think about the businesses? Should we be giving them more money? Would you want more of your taxpayer dollars to go to these Colfax businesses to preserve whatever that intangible Colfax grit is?
Well, I'm telling you, if we lose
it's tangible. The grit is tangible.
If we lose the Squire,
I got some under my fingernails right now.
we lose the Squire, we're in some deep trouble.
I don't like that thought. 720-500-5418. All right, we're going to a break. We'll come back with a really, really spicy hot topic.
Paul wanted to raise my blood pressure, so he assigned us this story. This episode is brought to you by CU Denver's Center for New Directions, offering a master's degree and certificates in public and community leadership. As a CityCast Denver listener, you're already passionate about your city. Why not advance your passions and career with courses on local government policy or nonprofit management? CU Denver is Colorado's leading urban university, and New Directions is teaching what Denver's talking about right now: local politics, affordable housing, labor unions, and more. Dude, you can take a course in community organizing? That's amazing. New Directions offers weekend intensive courses from practitioners doing the kind of work we talk about right here on CityCast Denver. New student scholarships are open for summer or fall starts, or apply by March 17th for a paid Colorado Department of Local Affairs Best and Brightest Fellowship to earn a living and experience in a small or rural town alongside your master's degree. Click on the link in the show notes to get started meeting your moment today.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Maybe get in better shape or eat healthier, save more money, travel somewhere new. What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm having such a good time learning Spanish on Babbel this year. I'm taking a trip to Mexico City in the spring, and Babbel is giving me the Spanish foundation that's going to make my trip so much better. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by more than 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks, or at whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in a new language, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. And one way they do that is with their own podcasts. I'm a podcast listener. I'm guessing since you're listening to this podcast, you are too. And I have been getting ready for my Mexico City trip by listening to Babbel's conversational podcasts. There's a short conversation you listen to, then an instructor talks you through what happened, and then you listen again, and then you catch everything when you listen that second time. There's also a great read-along transcript, too, which I love. The one I did today was with Maria and Carmela trying to make dinner plans, but Carmela is so busy. She's way too busy with work and yoga, but finally they agreed on brunch on Saturday. Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other universities continue to prove that Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. So let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
We're back. Time for a hot topic. My absolute favorite kind of topic to discuss on the show. We get to look inside the mind of a very interesting Denverite this week, see how they see the city. This time, it's thanks to the BBC, who celebrated the release of the new Lumineers album last week by asking frontman Wesley Schultz for his personal guide to Denver. So we all listened to the album, or at least some of it, and we're going to talk about Wesley's picks for Denver, good stuff in Denver. But
I don't know if you looked at their Spotify numbers, but
oh my God, they're incredible.
Has had 1.4 billion streams, which probably equates to like $10 for them, but it's a lot of exposure.
They're playing in Power Field this summer, with Nathaniel Rateliff.
Yeah,
this is a bigger band than I realized. That's one thing I learned this week. But this is like, I moved here after the Lumineers were kind of already a thing. What's the Lumineers Denver story? to you two?
Well, first of all, I just want to start out by saying I rely on the British Broadcasting Corporation for all my Denver music scene news. So I'm really glad that they
created this
tackled
listicle
for us. So good on them. Good on them.
Appreciate it.
And so the Lumineers are just, to me, there's nothing particularly Denver about them. They're not originally from Denver. Not that matters. But it is, they could be from anywhere. The reason they are so popular is they are just kind of there, innocuously pleasant, kind of vaguely comforting.
Wedding music, grocery store music.
And that's great. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's the height of success.
I can't think of a single negative thing to say about the Lumineers' terrible music.
I disagree. I think there's something very Denver about the Lumineers because it's the thing that's Denver about me. I'm a young, upwardly mobile, educated person that came here in the 2010s.
Can we talk
came
about
during
this
the boom
part?
time.
Okay.
This is what the Lumineers are.
Okay. I'm glad we're going here because I was brought back to this 2013 New York Times piece about the Lumineers that I just inflamed my brain so hard. And it sort of painted this picture. It opens up in the Meadowlark, and they're sitting there with these two gentlemen, the two founding members of the Lumineers, who are not from here, Neela Pekarik, Stealth Olvang. They're from here. Just want to say they're no longer in the band, I don't believe. But
friggin' great name, Stealth Olvang.
Oh yeah, he went to school with some of my friends. Lovely gentleman, great musician. But the New York Times painted this picture like, oh my gosh, this underground place where the Lumineers just grew out of. We couldn't even believe that there was anything in Denver. Funny enough, they were playing an open mic night here in Denver where my bandmates were getting paid $50 a night to run the sound for that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
yes.
funny.
We obviously didn't make it to be as big as the Lumineers, but the way that they painted this picture is exactly what you're saying, Paul. This is a quote from that New York Times piece. Quote, they considered London, Philadelphia, and Boston. And then Mr. Jeremiah Freight said, we said in our ignorance and naivete, let's move to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's where all the ignorant, naive people come.
Let's go to Denver. Let's go to the middle of fucking nowhere. Let's go to Denver.
So
and I was like, oh, this is why it made me so mad.
If it plays in Peoria.
I mean, well, and this was this interesting transition, Jason, that you and I have lived through, which is when we were and are still in bands, when we were earlier in bands in the late 90s and early 2000s, everyone was trying to get the fuck out of here. My band's going to go to New York. We're going to get the hell out of here. This transition was really interesting because folks started moving from large markets to Denver. They moved from Brooklyn to Denver.
Denver had a moment.
And but it was just such an interesting thing because so many of us had been we have a music history that's decades and decades long before this. And a lot of it is more underground. A lot of it is more noise and jazz oriented. And it just felt like when these kind of stories came out, it was like none of us existed yet. It's
I don't necessarily have anything against the carpetbagger. I mean, the Lumineers.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this was just a transition that was interesting for those of us that had already been here.
I feel like it's not as black and white though. Like, who's opening for them at Empower Field? Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats.
Nathaniel Rateliff headline it by themselves.
They probably could. Great band, very successful.
Yeah.
Denver, very similar vibe.
Also, not originally from Colorado though.
Is he not?
No,
but he's been around for years and years.
He's part of the other type of flow that has come to us for a long time, which is the Nebraska, Kansas, New Mexico, Utah folks, Wyoming folks who have
different era.
Yeah, who have come here to be in a bigger market. This was just interesting to me because they came from a bigger market to be in a smaller market.
And I'll play devil's advocate with myself. So I don't really dislike the Lumineers. They would have to somehow engage my consciousness enough for me to dislike them. And their music just doesn't do that. I'm sure they're wonderful dudes. I have nothing against people moving here. I'm not originally from here. I moved here when I was 13 from Florida. So this was a utopia compared to where I'm from. I think it's awesome. And I think that doesn't really matter where you come from, doesn't matter where you claim. When a band comes here and makes it big, then it stimulates the local scene. It brings attention to it nationally and internationally to the point
You're
where
gesturing at me while you say that, and I find that very
Nathaniel
flattering.
Rateliff's a great example. That guy was in 20 different kinds of bands before that band hit, and this probably helped.
The dude's from New Jersey, and he had to move to Denver to get written up by the BBC. Look at that.
They have a vibe that people associate with Denver. There's that boom clap kind of barn housey vibe that the Lumineers have.
Of something less
that
Denver.
Doesn't feel Denver to me.
No,
but I think if you're a music writer in New York, that's like, oh, that's a Western vibe.
Yeah, maybe that's really my problem. And again, I'm with you, Jason. I don't know them. They're probably really nice people, but the narrative around them to me undermined a lot of what was happening here, and I always have carried that grudge a little bit, like. This isn't, we're not just this. Like, we have had 16 horsepower, the Fluid, Devotchka, the Fray. My favorite's Tag Team. Like there's all kinds of folks that have come out of Denver. And so it's just interesting to me when someone's like, ding, here's what Denver sounds like.
I bet you if you ask people around the country, hey, have you heard the Lumineers? And they'll be like, oh, yeah. Oh, do you know where they're from? They will. I bet you 99% of them would not be able to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
it's a
that it is
part of
something that...
It's more defining for like someone like Nathaniel, who's very proud. I mean, he's like a Nuggets fan. You know, like people, I don't know. I see him more visible in the Denver stuff, for sure.
Well, let's talk about Wesley Schultz's picks that he gave the BBC, the story that Wesley wants to tell the fine folks of England about Denver. I thought these were interesting. Some of these were kind of fun. So Wesley's pick for best for families is the Children's Museum of Denver. Wesley says, you're kind of surprised you don't have to sign more waivers. In a good way, he says.
They do have
I'm glad he's got a sense of humor because that way I think he might not come beat me up.
They do have that Mad Max looking playground area you can see off I-25. So I see what he's saying.
Okay, I can't actually say I've been there, but that sounded like a cool... It sounded like Meow Wolfy, like Casa Bonita to me.
It's great. It's just hard to get into. Like you have to be there right when it opens. So.
All right, Wesley's pick for best classic Denver culinary experience, El Taco de Mexico on Santa Fe. He says they used to be cash only and only women work there. They cook using real lard. They have beef tongue and kind of exotic stuff on the menu. I always order the chili relleno burrito smothered with green chili, and it's life-changing. I couldn't agree more with Wesley on this one. That's a great pick.
The word exotic, I don't know how I don't know if I love exotic.
Exactly. I love El Taco.
I don't know why it matters that all women used to work there. I don't know what the...
I will say
he's trying to introduce a little color
I do like that about it. But I would just say, like, what I like about this list is I can continue to be gatekeepy because I wouldn't put any of this shit on my list.
That's the fun part.
I love El Taco, but like everybody knows about it. A and B. It's not Denver.
It's the first thing that comes up when you Google like food in Denver.
And it's not our Mexican food. It's a different type of Mexican food, which is cool that we have it.
It's great. I love it.
Of course, that's his favorite.
No, this entire list is full. Wesley's entire list of things he recommends about Denver is awesome. Everything on it is a good place.
I would
It
disagree.
is as generic and predictable as one of his songs.
Number
he
4.
knows his audience.
Number 4. I'm skipping number 3 because it's not even in Denver. But number 4, best nightlife, the PS Lounge. Wesley says the PS Lounge is really fun. The owner used to serve Tang shots to all the ladies. There's a free pool table, which was great when we were poor musicians. It's a friendly, interesting, quirky place.
Now, this is where I'm sorry, you got to call BS on this. If you write anything about the PS and you don't mention the roses that are given out.
Also, those are Alabama Slammer shots, by the way.
Yeah.
They did know that in the BBC. I can't count that against.
To not mention I'm like, you really been there.
But it is a good pick. It is a good pick.
PS Lounge is fantastic.
It is definitely, it's what I think is interesting about the PS is folks that I know that used to live, like that grew up here, when they come home, they always have to go there. So that's how you do know. That's a
even though you can't get Enzo's anymore.
I know.
And eat it at
so
PS and Enzo's Pizza went out of.
I was going to mention that. Sad.
It looked real sad the other night when I drove by.
All right, we're going to do 2 more. Best place to get a feel for everyday life.
This one was written to provoke me.
Yes, it was. His pick is Rhino. The Rhino area is a place where you can walk along Larimer Street all the way to the baseball stadium. Once you're there, that whole area, there's stuff all around. When I first moved to Denver, there was nothing there. Which was what, 2013?
Yeah.
It was a lonesome stretch. Now it's one of the most desirable places. I really love to take friends there and just walk along there.
Did a real estate agent write this?
I also, I'm just in general, I'm having this kind of issue with Rhino only being considered this side of the train tracks.
Oh, and not Brighton?
There's a whole other Rhino, and I'm not saying I like that part better. I'm really digging a deep hole. But you have to average it all in. You know what I mean? Also, everyday life.
Yeah, I was like, to me, it's this
For
like
some people,
You know,
I
go
guess.
to a strip mall in
Denver
South
playland.
Glen. That's everyday life in Colorado.
I mean,
okay?
I would go to a strip mall any day over having to go
or
to
a
that
strip
area.
club in South Glen. I mean, I don't think South Glen. has
That
strip
to me
mall-
is
or
just
strip
like-
clubs, but
That's the Denver that was born in this era that
Yes.
this person identifies
Yes,
with. And
it's perfect for Wesley.
I think this is where Wesley Schultz can go down to Rhino and walk around and see a lot of people dressed like him.
yeah, totally.
I
Which
think
is
that
like
that
probably where
is,
he
which
feels
is very
comfortable.
comforting.
Yeah.
Which everyday life is
it's one
where
of-
you go and you see people dressed like you.
one of Denver's biggest hottie hotspots.
Yes, we learned from
In Rhino.
comedian Miriam Moreno. She
We've
calls
talked
it the
about
hottie hotspot. All the uggos live in Capitol Hill is what she told us.
Yeah, which is where I live.
All right, moving on. The last pick from Wesley, best hidden gem, which, sorry to Patty Calhoun at Westward for that phrase. Best hidden gem, according to Wesley, Sunday Vinyl. Sunday Vinyl, a music place for you two music lovers. This is one of Bobby Stuckey's places right on the platform at Union Station. Wesley says it's a very special place for drinks like cocktails, but especially for wine. It's a whole vibe. They spend something like $500,000 on the sound system, and they just spin vinyl. That's all they do. Even for my friends that are really into music, it's cool to remember just how special it is to be around music and seeing the cover of an album and holding a record. It's just really tangible.
If I was looking for a vinyl experience, I would go to Wax Trax, but that's
But
just
Wax Trax doesn't serve cocktails.
me.
Oh, wait, I
Yeah.
used to work there, and we serve ourselves cocktails while we work. If a 40 in a brown paper bag counts.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, this is like that kind of place is created for this kind of person, and that's the audience for it. So good for him. I mean, it's just not
my problem with
my
it
thing
is
about Denver.
it's a whole vibe. I'm really much more of a 3/4 vibe person.
I went to Sunday Vinyl once. I thought it was good. It's expensive.
It was so
Yeah.
hidden,
It's like-
though. It's
it's
so hidden. How do
Yeah,
you
that
even
does seem
find
strange
it?
to me that it was labeled a hidden gem.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
it
I mean,
is
the
like
phrase is
hidden.
just,
Like it's
Patty's
like
right. It's not a
probably on
great
the-
phrase.
Visit Denver website.
Maybe it is. Popular spot. That's billion plays on Spotify, Wesley. He's going to Sunday.
1.4 billion
Not,
plays.
not gigging around town.
This might be
Wesley.
the good time. You guys got the scoop on this. This might be the good time for me to publicly announce. I am
Wow.
the Lumineers' new guitarist. I
gosh.
just
Honestly,
was
it's
asked to
probably a great
join.
paying gig.
Yeah. So yeah.
What are you going to bring to the band?
Yeah, I'm kind of a dose of reality.
Okay, great.
I'm like,
Can't
I
wait
would
to
be a
hear
hater
that.
if someone I knew got to tour with them. Go for it. Make some money. Get in front of that Empowerfield crowd.
Well, folks, you've heard what we think about the Lumineers. Except me, I think they're cool.
I'm a Neil Picaric fan. Just putting it out.
I would like to know that whole story about how she left the band.
I
That
know
seems
some
like
stuff,
maybe.
but she's a lovely person.
We'll talk about that on another show. Lumineers, do they scream Denver to you? We want to hear about your Lumineers stories. 720-500-5418. The Stomp Clap hotline is open. 720-500-5418.
I want to hear from the person that saw them at the Meadowlark.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the person. If you were there, let me
Yes.
know what it was really like. I'm curious.
All right,
Why
one more.
couldn't the car have driven into the Meadowlark that night?
Hey, it didn't hurt anybody.
Jason, how do you feel about the Lumineers?
I've never heard them.
One more break, and we're back for Wins and Fills. Folks, it's Paul here. I want to tell you about Heyday. Heyday is CityCast Denver's first big event. We've never done something at this scale before. We've never had the resources. But you know what? We convinced our bosses to let us do it. And I can't wait to see you all there. It's going to be amazing. Coming this March, Heyday is like a state fair, but it's for the city. You could call it maybe a city and county fair. That's what I've been calling it. No one else seems to like that. But it's designed to celebrate everything we love about Denver. We know you love it too. There's so much to talk about. What I want to talk about is the food. Churros, nachos, popcorn. I eat so much popcorn during the week. I have my favorite flavor combinations. I would love to tell you about them at Heyday. Hot dog sliders, vegan tamales, pretzel bites with provolone fondue. These are carnival classics with a Denver twist. That's what this event is all about. Bring your kids, bring your friends, bring your loved ones, bring your mom. Down at the Asterisk Building, March 8th. It's all day. Get your tickets now. They're affordable. If you become a member, they're even cheaper. PaydayDenver.com. Get them now.
This is an ad from BetterHelp Online Therapy. We always hear about the red flags to avoid in relationships, but it's just as important to focus on the green flags. If you're not quite sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify those qualities so you can embody the green flag energy and find it in others. BetterHelp offers therapy 100% online, and sign-up only takes a few minutes. Visit BetterHelp.com today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com.
All right, we're back. Best way to end the week, it's our Rocky Mountain highs and lows, a.k.a. wins and fails of the week. Each of us brought a recent local something we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to do fails first. We always do. Bree, you want to take us away?
Yeah, there was a story in the Denver Post this week, which I actually heard about a month ago from my son's school, but the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program, or CCAP, is facing a fundraising freeze because of tightening budgets. What this program does is help working families get their kids childcare, and in a lot of cases, so parents can go to work. My son's school specialized in serving these families, and because of this funding freeze, they have to shift their focus, and they're losing a lot of their families. They have to focus towards families with money that can pay for the school. And it was really frustrating for the head of my son's school, because that's why she started the school, was to help families in the neighborhood where she lives and provide them an education as well as childcare. So this funding freeze is just going to put a lot of parents in a really shitty position where you have to choose between work and childcare. And I'm frustrated. I understand budgets are tightening, but this serves the most vulnerable families in Colorado, and it's going to have impacts in so many ways in so many communities. And I mean, we got an email from our school that said, you're going to see the demographics of our school actually change, because we're no longer actually serving. We're not going to be able to serve the students in our community, which is predominantly Spanish-speaking community. It's a very, what I loved about it.
Because the people who are relying on this support aren't going to be able to
afford it anymore. And she can't afford she has a couple scholarships available because she still wants to try to help these families, but she has to pay her employees, right? So she's going to have to start taking on people that can only pay full price. And so she said, I have to literally start advertising to families outside of our own community because I need to be able to keep the school open. And now I can't serve the kids that have been going to the school with your kids for 2 years. So, I mean, you can talk to your legislators if you have a problem with this, but it's the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program. It's getting a huge funding cut, and it's going to impact a lot of people.
Wow. Jason, how about you? What's your fail this week?
The people who send right-wing hate mail to Westward, which it has been pretty interesting. I don't see all the reader mail that we get, but, there has been a really alarming uptick, strangely enough, since Inauguration Day.
We've also noticed an uptick in not necessarily right-wing responses to our stuff, because CityCast listeners are brilliant and hilarious and such good-hearted people and good-looking too. But more engagement in general since the inauguration. Just more comments, more chatter. It's interesting.
And that's great, yeah. But, it is – and conservative point of view, that's a completely different thing, right?
Sure.
This is, I got a great one in response to something I wrote. They didn't even specify the reader exactly what it was about, what I do that they hated.
Please share.
I can't read all of it over the air, but it was, go F yourself, commie boy, you lost F word. America is done with commie soy boy F faces like you. The best was, your time of Satan is over. And
my time of Satan is all the time, baby. I don't know what you're talking about.
My time of Satan is 12:30 p.m. every day. And so, it's just stuff like that. Someone, we ran a list recently at Westward, which was a list of local bands in Denver here that have written anti-MAGA, anti-Elon Musk, anti-Donald Trump songs. And when someone starts out by saying, I fully support anyone's right to say anything about anything in any way, but
Except these songs.
and and then it just degenerated into crazy just crazy things.
This is people brain broke on the internet. This is the modern era. I want to ask you about something because you all had some. The Westward got some flack in conservative circles online last weekend. There was like a banner, like a link on the Westward website that was promoting an article that was like, "Hey, there's a big protest this weekend. Here's what you need to know if you're going." And someone screenshotted that, and then there was a lot of criticism about like, "Oh, Westward is sponsoring this protest. Westward is supporting this protest." What do you think about that? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's one part of it, but here's a crazy idea. If there's a protest, any side can go there. If it's a protest that is against Trump, if you're pro-Trump, you're welcome to go too. It's called a counter-protest. You're welcome to picket the picketers.
I didn't read it. Was it like a list of like where to park or like how to get there or?
It was, it was just basically, like here,
Here's where it's happening, the times and stuff.
Yeah. Here's the weather, dress warm, just like, the thing is that's news. And if there had been a big pro-Trump protest, well, first of all, the pro-Trump protest would have been invading the Colorado Capitol.
No, it would have been out at the Gaylord. We saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Paul was there.
Yeah, Patty was too, taking pictures.
Yep.
I don't believe, I have to say, I don't believe Westward posted a how to get to the Trump rally at the Gaylord. I'm just Googling it here. I'm not seeing it.
But, even that, hey, okay, sure. That's actually a fair point of contention.
I take that back. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Patty Calhoun byline, Trump is coming to Aurora Thursday, what you need to know.
Oh, so there's
She literally did do this.
Okay, so.
Of course she did.
Yeah, then that to me disproves their point. So,
but anyway, the uptick of conservative feedback is interesting, and just more engagement in general has been interesting. Let's move on. I want to give my fail, because my fail actually leads to a really good win. So this week, the new National Women's Soccer League franchise coming to Denver, which is very exciting. I'm excited. I put down my $30 for to hold season tickets this week. They revealed some potential names for the franchise, finalist names that they want fans to vote on. They also have an option for write-in names.
Please, people, write in.
But I know my fail is just like, these names are weak. Denver Peak FC, Colorado 14ers FC, Colorado Summit FC, Denver Elevate FC, which sounds like a credit union.
That's what I said. I was like, these are all credit union names.
Denver FC, Denver Gold FC. That's the one I like the most, but I don't like any of them. I didn't think
I like the Wesley Schultzes. I think would be a good name for the Denver
Lumineers. The Lumineerettes.
Why not the Lumineers? So you can write in and give some better names.
Yeah, I had a couple of the pronghorns for the fastest land animal in North America, native to this area. The Denver Strike I liked, but Bree, you got to give yours.
The Unsinkables. Why not capitalize on that Molly Brown lore? It's got great marketing. It's got great branding already. Every picture you ever see of Molly Brown, she's like, I have to be in a room with a man. Like her face is just like, I hate this world. And she just looks so angry. And I love that about her. And I think you could make a really cool like logo out of that. That's me.
Jason, what do you think? That's my current favorite, the Unsinkables.
They're Unsinkable applies to Molly Brown, but it also applies to the Titanic itself and its boasting that is impervious. So it could also be taken the way that it is like massively doomed to tragedy, the team is. That it is the Titanic of women's soccer. I would say from the
Colorado perspective. That's what we're
for the
they might play shows outside of Colorado.
Yeah.
Shows, games, matches. I don't even know a thing about a sport.
Then just go with the baby dose. It's fine. The baby dose is fine.
Baby dose is also good. Our producer Olivia Jewel Love also had a great suggestion. The Crocs.
Oh yeah.
The Denver Crocs.
Capitalize on the shoe,
which is so good.
And she made a point. There's like tons of branding opportunities here, and you need a shoe to wear before you put your cleats on. So she said, "Why not Crocs?" Right?
They should actually make the team play in Crocs.
Oh, They could make a croc cleat if they haven't already.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That's our fails. Let's move on to wins. I'll go quick. I got a good one. I was talking this week to the one part-time employee of the Sloan's Lake Park Foundation. I know this is not on anyone's mind, but if you've been paying attention the last few years, every spring and summer, Sloan's Lake gets pretty gross.
Yeah,
Fish are dying. They got the blue-green algae. It's not cool.
That's a bummer.
Everyone is aware of the problem. There's a lot of sediment. There's a lot of like unfiltered drainage going into the lake. Apparently it's very shallow now too, which in the West is an issue because that's what leads to the blue-green algae. It's like 3 feet deep, even in the center of the lake. It's
wow.
So
people put boats on there? Wow.
I know. It's weird.
Interesting.
The whole thing is a problem, and it's going to be very expensive, but it's going to be more expensive if it's not dredged. So that's what this new group, the Sloan's Lake Park Foundation, that's what they're working on. So I was talking to this guy, Kurt Weaver, and he was like, we have a plan. And a lot of influential people are on board. They have formed a group called the Watershed Alliance, which is a lot of like local elected officials, the council members over there. The mayor is involved. They have had 2 meetings so far. The mayors of Edgewater, basically all of the municipalities in the whole Sloan's Lake watershed are on board. And what they're planning to do is to run a campaign for a bond measure to put a very small tax on property owners in the watershed to raise what would be like $250 million to dredge the lake in the next few years and bring it back to health.
Like, because they dredged Lollipop Lake by your house when I was a kid. So they basically like take all the water out and like kind of start over.
He said it would take 77,000 truckloads
Holy
of sediment.
cow.
They need to be trucked out.
They got to just dig it out and start over.
Yeah. And then the very best part of this, what makes this the win, is he loved my idea to put a big blue Roger the Elephant in the lake.
I was going to ask, are they going to bring back Manhattan Beach? What?
They want to do some storytelling around it too. They're working with Parks and Rec around like helping to tell the story of Sloan's Lake in a better way. And I was like, we need another big blue animal, right? And he loved it.
Put it right in the middle of the lake.
I think near the shore, but we could talk. We could talk about it. So, listeners, I know that some people got involved last time. I shouted this out. People were excited about it. So it maybe it'll happen.
It's a cool project.
Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah.
Jason, your win of the week.
I absolutely love that completely serendipitously, we both have a Sloan's Lake win.
That's amazing. What's your Sloan's Lake win?
Well, I just interviewed yesterday a citizen of Edgewater who, her name is Amanda Buxton, and I'm writing a feature about her for an upcoming issue of Westward. She about 2 years ago started taking it upon herself to rescue domesticated ducks that have been dumped at Sloan's Lake, which is a very popular place for people to dump domesticated ducks. You know, they'll get them at like feed stores and farming supply stores where you can buy a baby duck for like $5. People will take them home, decide they don't want them, realize it's actually a work to own a living thing. And she began enticing ducks. She'll throw them little food parties to kind of draw them in. And a lot of the issues that you were just talking about, Paul, with the lake are things that are affecting, of course, wildlife there as well.
Sure.
As resources shrink, as clean water and something edible to wildlife starts to disappear at Sloan's Lake, it becomes more cutthroat for the waterfowl who live there. So basically when a domesticated duck is dumped there, they just get attacked by the wild ducks there. And so she began, Amanda Buxton began just of her own accord, saving them and taking them home. She keeps some and she rehomes others. She began a big Facebook network of people here in town who do this. She's applying for nonprofit status right now. But it is a great story. It's a heartwarming story with a little bit of a depressing edge. But what the best part about it is I got to go see some really cute ducks. Really cute. So my win
we'll
is
look forward to the
Amanda
pictures
Buxton's
of those
duck
ducks.
rehab.
That's great.
She's the duck whisperer.
I love it. Also, stop buying ducks at feed stores for your kids for Easter. I have friends that did this their whole childhood.
I never heard of anyone doing that.
And then apparently that's where they end up, which is terrible. But that's cool.
Bree, it's your turn.
Well, my win is an update on a fail I had recently, which is that after folks spoke out, Children's Hospital Colorado and Denver Health will resume offering gender-affirming care to individuals under 18. So this also comes after Attorney General Phil Weiser joined a lawsuit in Washington seeking to block the order from the Trump administration that was threatening to pull federal funding from these hospitals. So basically, there was a Trump order that said if you are providing this care, you're going to lose federal funding, which would impact the entire hospital. And what it was doing was putting folks in healthcare in this position to say, I have to decide who I get to care for. And this impacted a lot of families, many folks who have come here because Colorado was a safe haven for transgender children. And all of a sudden, they got their care pulled out from under them. And this was a couple weeks ago. But a judge in the case has issued a temporary restraining order against the administration. And so because of that, Children's and Denver Health will start to provide this care again later in the month. And so families, I checked in with the mom that I talk to pretty regularly of a trans kid. And she said, it's like, we're excited, but we're still nervous. But it's a win. It's a win.
Yeah,
these kids get
because
to continue.
The lawsuit could go either way.
Yeah, they don't. But in the meantime, they can at least continue on the care path that they were on. So, I mean, that's a win
Definitely
in my book.
Win for them.
And these are the kinds of things that we're hoping can continue to happen as folks are scared about stuff like losing their health care. So,
well, I have to say again, I mean, if I was Phil Weiser, we had him on the show recently, talk about his candidacy for governor. He's running the elections next year. If I was another potential candidate running for the Democratic nomination, and I saw Phil Weiser making headline after headline, standing up for values that Coloradans believe in by fighting the Trump administration on all of these executive orders, I would be crapping my pants right now.
I mean, he's really out there.
This is how you win an election, folks. He is so canny politically by doing things that people want.
Yeah.
And I gotta keep giving it up to him for taking advantage of this moment and fighting for what Coloradans want. Like, because clearly these things are popular here, as much as they may not be across the whole country.
Like I said, that's why some families had come here, was because we were this safe haven. And he obviously recognizes that this is a quality of life issue for Coloradans. So crossing our fingers, it stays going, but I'm just happy that these families can continue to take care of their kids.
All right, well, here we are at the end of the show. Jason, I want to have a music recommendation from you. One local album that people might not have heard of that they liked. Something that you think people would like.
Oh,
we heard a lot of
would like.
Yeah, we heard a lot about your thoughts about the Lumineers. I think that we've probably had our fill there. But what's something people would like?
What is something people would like? There's an excellent local goth band. Goth dark post-punk called Plague Garden, and they put out a new album last month in January, and it's on vinyl and everything. They can play it at Sunday Vinyl. I'm sure all the brunchers will be happy to hear some heavy goth while they're eating poached eggs.
Well, we'll pick a song off of Plague Garden's new album
Plague Garden
to go out on. Jason Heller, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you next time, Bree.
Thanks, guys.
So it's raining from above now, and things are now up in the sight.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Olivia Jewell-Love, Francisco Kilgore, Patrick Emile, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Wesley Schultz about us the next time you see him. Or don't. If you love the show, come see us in person at Heyday, an indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist, and a killer costume contest that you could win if you think you can be the most Denverist Denverite of all. That's on Saturday, March 8th. Get your tickets now at heydaydenver.com. You can sign up for that costume contest and our daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. More links to everything in the show notes. See you next week.
Or I just might lose my head. You'll see the skies are bleeding up above. You'll see the end is near.